Here is a key to increasing your 2-foot vertical jump that I really haven't seen discussed before. All right, guys, I'm Chris Bell from Against Odds Athletics. Before we get into it, I want you to grab that free jump training that I have for you, absolutely free. First link in the description, or go to againstoddsethletics.com/free training. All right, so when it comes to 2-foot jump, I see a lot of my athletes struggle with the amount of speed they bring into their approach, because what ends up happening is they bring in too much speed and that completely blows through their block foot, and they ended up not being able to translate that horizontal energy vertical, which is what we want, and it ends up going on a sharp angle like that. So they either come in with too much speed, or they don't come in with enough speed to where they are coming up, they're actually decelerating into the jump and turning it basically into a standing jump, which isn't the most efficient way to go about a 2-foot jump, because we want to utilize the approach. The reason why having an approach is so good is because we can utilize the speed coming in and instantly transfer that up, and that adds to the amount of power if we can redirect it properly. So how do we figure out what speed to bring in? Is there one speed that everybody should go, or is it different? Of course, it's different for each athlete. You already know I was going to say that. But it really comes down to you need to inspect your own form. And I'm a good example of someone who is fairly different, because I like to spend a lot of time on the ground. And think about it, we're coming in with this horizontal energy, this speed in our approach. And if I like to spend a long time on the ground, we're coming in with that speed. So if it takes me longer to gather the force, my center of mass is now over my block foot, which is gonna force me to drift more than someone who can kind of produce force quickly. Then they can throw the feet out in front, explode up, and bring a lot more speed than what I can, because if I bring in too much speed, it takes me too long to absorb the force to where, again, I'm traveling horizontally and then that target is there. So just saying, oh, you shouldn't have any drift on a 2-foot vertical jump is incorrect. It really just depends on how you produce force best. My PR, where I hit a 50-inch max vertical jump off 2 feet, that one, if you watch, there is a decent amount of drift there. I'm drifting from a little bit further back from where I suggest most athletes come, because most athletes do produce their peak force a little bit quicker than me. But because I do have a high force production, the way my body works is I need more time on the ground. So number one key is figure out how fast it takes you to produce force, your peak amount of force, okay? Figure out if you're an athlete that produces force really quickly, that doesn't need that much time on the ground, or if you're a very strong, muscular-based jumper like I am, where you need more time on the ground to amortize the force and produce the force. So that's going to be super important, and each of those routes are going to kind of manipulate your jump technique, or your optimal jump technique. So we're going to have to tweak, okay, look, you produce force super fast, so you could bring in a lot of speed as long as you really throw the legs out in front, because it only takes you a split second in order to amortize and shoot right back up. A lot of lighter athletes, athletes that weigh less, that's going to be good for probably, most likely those lighter jumpers are going to be able to produce their peak force quicker, because they're not as heavy, so they don't have to amortize as much force. Whereas a jumper like me, I'm going to say, okay, look, bringing in too much speed into your approach isn't necessarily the thing that we want to do. So we might want to shorten the approach, shorten the length of the approach. So maybe instead of a full 7-step or 5-step, it's just a 3-step, and then we slowly progress there. And we get that 3-step to where now you don't have that much horizontal force coming in, but you can still accelerate into it, right? You could build up from 0 here, 0, 1, 2, and then get into it. You're only going to finish at, let's say, 15 miles an hour, whereas if you started at 5 and then accelerated, like I'm at 30 miles an hour, so that end speed is going to be too fast. So I might shorten the approach and then get that athlete to jump, and they might actually jump higher off of a 3-step approach than a 5-step approach. And that's how you know that there is a lot of things to tweak in their technique. And that probably means that they are coming in with too much speed, to the point where they are running up and they have to decelerate, or they're just accelerating into a jump, which you should, but then completely blowing through because there's no way that their legs are strong enough to break 50 miles an hour worth of force. So those are a couple key points to increase your vertical jump, especially for my 2-foot jumpers out there that I haven't really seen discussed before. Super excited to share this one with you guys. If you guys like this one, drop a like, drop a comment, and I try to answer all my comments. And if you guys grab that free training, don't be, about 60% of people that watch the video grab the free jump training. I want it to be 100. So make sure that you guys are in that 60% that grabs it. And hopefully we can bump that number up to 70, 80, 90, because I want all of you guys to absorb it. It's absolutely free. First link in the description, or to go to againsoddsathletics.com/free jump training. I'm Chris Bell, 50-inch vertical. I'll catch you guys in the next one.